شكرا لكم، يعطيكم الف عافيه، وشكرا لنواتك ولميسر احتضنونا في البوث الرهيب حقهم. طيب اليوم ان شاء الله بتكلم عن التكنولوجي تيمز و how do you scale technology teams. حنبدا مع بعض في رحله. I'm gonna skip the agenda، غيرتها شويه في الاخير، بس هنشوف رحله تكنولوجي تيم من لما يكون 2 members الين ما يوصل ل 30 او 40 شخص. والفريم ورك بشكل عام المفروض انه ابليكابل، لكن في شويه اشياء في السيت اب ابغى اتكلم عنها. assumptions اخذتها في البرزنتيشن عشان اقدر اوصل شيء مفيد وبراكتيكال في الوقت اللي موجود معانا. اول حاجه this is intended for startups. الحاجه الثانيه it's for technology startups، ففي تكنولوجي تيم بجميع السب ديبارتمنتس حقته. الحاجه الثالثه انه يعني I tried as much as I can اني اخلي this is a reflection of اللي صار معانا. ممكن تكون في اشياء سويناها صح، في a lot of opinions، ممكن جدا I'll be مرة happy and I discuss after the talk. بس yeah we'll add people as we go. حنبدأ مع شخصين في البرودكت، شخصين في الانجينيرينج، ونكبر مع بعض لين ان شاء الله نوصل ل multiple squads. طيب برضو some terminologies لما نتكلم عن engineering I mean any kind of engineer إلا يمكن data engineer يكون تحت ال data department. Product is anything from product management, product design, product operations or product growth. usually هذول هم تكون الكور فانكشنز in a technology company، تكون technology based بشكل اساسي. تقدم SaaS services او API as a service او غيره. طيب في الانسبشن حنبدا ب 2 team members، غالبا يكونوا founding team members، ممكن يكون واحد من التكنيكال team members اصلا هو co-founder ولا founder. The workflow is going to be very simple. Do not complicate anything that has to do with how you talk and you work with each other. Another thing يمكن كان أحسن أقوله في السيت is this presentation is very non-technical. لأن في الأخير إحنا بنتكلم مع بعض عن how people work together. It's mainly about people working together rather than بنركز على technologies ولا work stream ولا workflow معين to release things ولا feature flags ولا shipping trains ولا أي شيء. فنحاول نخليها مرة بسيطة و we talk about structure، كيف الناس تتواصل وكيف تتكلم مع بعض and how they collaborate, right? But when you're 2 people, just talk. يعني حتى Notion غالبا free، Slack غالبا free. Your method of releasing features is probably just ship things. You don't need PR reviews لأنكم كتبتوا الكود مع بعض. You don't need any CI/CD pipelines لأنه production is probably dev لأنه ما في ولا user غير أنتوا أخوانك في البيت. It's very simplistic, right? I've seen this صراحة happen to some teams. They tend to overcomplicate شوية how they interact with each other لما يكونوا مرة صغار. They set up in مثلا the engineering team is 3 or 4 people or there is prerequisite to merge anything from say dev to master إنه 2 PR reviews تخلص. You're really adding obstacles for yourself. خلي الموضوع مرة سهل. Just focus on pivoting as fast as you can, on changing the product, iterating as fast as you can, and it's okay. You'll ship things that are broken. It's okay to use automation and tools just to deliver value very quickly, but don't focus on that being how you work, right? طيب ممتاز. خلينا نعقد الموضوع شوية ونقول 3 more engineers join the team. التيم صار أكبر حبتين. Now we need some kind of visibility على إيش قاعدين نسوي. A team is still small enough and everyone knows what everyone is doing. That's an important note. But things are getting spicy. We're getting signals. صار عندنا ممكن 1 or 2 paying customers. We're getting some traction, But that's when you want to embrace بعض الأشياء. You want to start thinking about, okay, طيب لما نكبر التيم أبغى يكون عندي infrastructure بسيط, at least an onboarding document, يكون عندي setup جاهز to embrace a remote culture. We already do meetings online, stuff like that, right? ما صار التيم 3-4 أشخاص يتجمعوا في coffee shop ولا workplace environment يقعدوا يشتغلوا. It's bigger than that now. And that's when you probably start implementing some frameworks to manage work. مثلا you start having Kanban boards, you start tracking tasks, you start writing down tasks. أول كانت التاسك أشياء نتكلمها موجودة في دفتر واحد كلنا نتشاركه. It's a little bit bigger than that now. your work stream becomes a little bit more complicated. ممكن تبدأ تسوي pipelines, ممكن تبدأ تشتغل على services, بس بشكل عام برضو I'm trying to keep this as friendly as possible. ما بخليه technical, بس usually it's just the whole company is a single repo, right? But takeaways is you want to start thinking about some sort of a work framework, right? You want to have at least 1 to 2 months predictability ahead of time. تبى تعرف what you're going to deliver in 1 to 2 months لأنه now you have customers, maybe some people paid, maybe just people that are interested. They're not paid customers yet. بس تبغى تجرب معاهم كثير وتبغى تقول لهم إنه I have these A and B and C things coming in the pipeline and I'm going to release them soon. And embrace that أغلب الأشياء اللي will be releasing الفترة الجاية are going to be MVPs, half-baked, broken. They're meant to be that way. It's okay. Let's not focus on simplicity and extensive documentation. It's not the issue for us right now, right? But try to deliver things quickly, as fast as you can. That's the takeaway. And over communicate, because you will lose over communication very soon. It's a nice thing to do when you have it. It's not a bad thing. بالعكس دحين أتمنى I wish إنه at least at Scalers we can over communicate things. Things have grown out of hand. We have a lot of teams that are working on different things. وخلاص الشخص الواحد ما يقدر يلم بكل حاجة قاعدة تصير وكل update قاعدة تصير كل يوم. ف it's normal. When you can, please do over communicate. It really helps you out. Especially للناس اللي موجودين في دي الفترة. You want to focus on retention. You want to focus that these are people that are going to have the most context moving forward. لما يصير التيم 30 40 50 تكي. هذول الناس اللي غالبا حتعرف there is always this person اللي لما يصير اي بق في اي سيرفيس نساله اول. غالبا هو داري فين يودينا. These are the people that are coming in right now and are in the team right now, right? You want to meet daily وزي ما قلنا you want to over communicate. If you want to scale the team and if you want to hire, one thing I used to do before I interview anyone is do I know what they're going to do at least to some level of confidence in the next 6 months. If I don't, يمكن ما أدري if we're sticking with what we're doing yet. And if we're pivoting completely, then ما كان يمكن أحسن شيء I have now 6 people that are building something from the scratch. I still want to experiment مرة بسرعة بطلع أشياء مرة بسرعة. بعض الأحيان, I mean, scaling a team and having a lot of people, especially technical people, they get bored very quickly. It's a double-edged sword. It can hurt you if you abuse it. إذا عندك ناس مرة كتير, you don't have enough work, you'll start introducing شوية randomness in the work office. They'll find work, they'll find something to do, they'll refactor over engineer, they'll just figure something out to do. بدأنا نكبر, صار في multiple teams, صار عندنا 4 people in product, البرودكت صار في له 2 sub teams, صار في product designer و product analysts, صار في engineers, صار في someone in data someone is very confused usually أول ما يبدأ. And there's something about engineers I'm going to talk about it in a bit, but usually, at least what I try to do is I try to keep some sort of a ratio where engineers are there to help out as much as they can to support. You go to engineers when something bad happens, أول شيء, right? And you expect them to cater it and accommodate for المشاكل اللي قاعدة تصير عندك in production or in other environments. And generally speaking, when we estimate tasks, at least from my very limited experience, اللي أشوفه إنه engineering tasks are the ones that get over or underestimated the most. You usually can estimate business tasks, MVBs, design tasks in a much better fashion, more accurate fashion than engineering. مشكلة engineering is the one that's most critical because it's the one that customer sees. قبلها أي other task in downstream doesn't really matter as much to your end user, most of the time. I'm going to give a quick rant about engineers. This is an opinion. I think whenever you're starting out, you want to hire full stackers as much as you can. They can have specialties. Don't get me wrong. ممكن يكون أحد يعرف backend مرة كويس, but they're at least okay with the idea of working in other parts of the stack. It's too early to include specializations that you probably don't need لأن الأشياء اللي تبنيها في البداية غالبا بسيطة. ما تحتاج someone very specialized عنده 15 سنة خبرة in how to, pipe and stream events from one service to the other. You're not there yet. فركز على ناس they have more breadth than width. Breadth than depth. That's just an opinion. I think it's very valuable to have people that are full stackers when you get started. Full stack as a whole, when someone who's really proficient, is a myth. They don't exist. I truly believe that. But when you start out with a team, you want someone who's at least okay to work on everything that you have in your stack. طيب خلص الرانت. خلينا ندخل. So بدأت تطلع لنا مشاكل جديدة. The team is bigger. صار it's really hard to keep track on what everyone is doing. تفتكر لما كنا نقول we want to meet daily, we want to talk daily, صار عندنا stand ups تاخذ 45 دقيقة, and you know, in fact the plans kind of backfired. دحين صرنا لما صار عندنا plan, we're too afraid to change it because it's a hassle. That's not what we were, right? كنا صغار مرة, when we change the plan by just having a discussion. أصلا nothing is very documented, بس عشان قلنا نبغى نوظف ناس, we want 6 months ahead of work. صرنا نعرف 6 months ahead of work, صرنا خلاص البلان, we're too tied to the plan. فما حد يغير, صرنا very defensive. But that's a really, really big problem. When you start noticing that people are being defensive about plans, start to look into, you know, this solution that we'll talk about in a bit. You start having bugs in production, and people don't have time for those, and you know, you have columns in the database that one person knows about and that person is on leave, while you have mixed panel events that you just have absolutely no idea what they mean. Things are getting a little bit out of hand. Like, so what I'm going to talk about in a bit is the Spotify model. It's, you know, how to you split team. It's a framework. It's something that you start with, and then you shift and change. على كيف الكالتشر حقك. It doesn't have to be something that you follow. But here's what's going to happen. We're going to call these chapters. Same skill sets, right? We're going to call them chapters. They're going to meet every other week. And then we're going to mix them up a bit, put themes on top of their rectangles, and call these squads. Now we have 2 teams. They're going to have 2 different stand-ups, 2 different plannings, 2 different retrospectives, 2 different everything, of course, if you're following Scrum. And, you know, from here, now we have different problems, and these are not supposed to be scratched out. Or in fact, maybe they were. So أول واحدة كانت, you can't keep track of what everyone is doing. You assign a lead here, assign a lead there, you just talk to them, you know what each chapter, or each squad is doing, sorry. Stand-up is taking 45 minutes, you know, you have 2 different people, it's taking more or less half the time. Or if there's one yapper, that yapper is in this squad, that squad is going to end very quickly, and you're going to have a talk with the yapper. بس الحين طلعت مشاكل جديدة. How do we make sure that these 2 have a consistent standard of quality? How do we make sure that they work towards the same goal وما صار في drift ولا لأنه you still want to, you know, introduce autonomy. تبغاهم يسووا اللي يبغوه, تبغاهم they pick their own framework, but you don't want them to drift to what? You don't want different companies. But you want to maintain the culture. There are things that you want to maintain across, right? You know, and the problem اللي قلناها لسه في column في database ما نعرف إيش يسوي is probably still going to be a problem. Maybe دحين more than ever لأنه the person that added the column is not even in my squad. ما أشوفه that often anymore. And there's an existential question of how do I pick the themes? قلنا هدول حسوا platform acquisition and navigation squad. Yeah, why this? Why not something else? Why not landing page squad or, you know, onboarding squad, or let's split it however other way we want. And that's where we introduce roadmaps. Roadmaps are how you want to make the team align and work together towards the same goal, even if they're different smaller teams, right? They have to be done right, and that's very tricky. I've done a lot of horrible roadmaps and I hate it myself. But let's see how you can do a roadmap a little bit better than when I started. You have 3 things that you need to define very well. أول حاجة, you want to have a North Star. And this North Star is the single metric that's going to decide whether you're a company next year or a closed shop. Right? This one thing, إذا في حاجة واحدة that you can define that's going to say if you're still a business in a year or in 2 years or maybe in a quarter. The other thing, you want to define objectives. Objectives, you want to, يعني, there's a formal definition, but the easy definition is أهم 3 أشياء في الشركة. Right? They don't have to be quantifiable. They're wide enough to have a lot of key results under them. They're wide enough to have a lot of epics under them. They're wide enough to have a lot of features, but it's not necessarily very small so that, you know, you can solve one every month, well, every quarter. They can span multiple quarters. Key results are, you know, smaller, measurable metrics inside each and every objective. And we'll look at examples if this is confusing. I really understand. North Star example is number of paid customers, number of transactions processed, number of monthly subscribers, etc. This is what people pays for. It's the single-handedly most important metric in the whole company. Objectives زي ما قلنا أهم 3 ولا 4 أشياء في الشركة. Moving forward, it could be like in the span of a year, 2 quarters, 3 quarters. فخلينا نقول إنه we want to expand to robo investment ولا we want to conquer new geographical region, we want to expand الريجن حقنا. ولا we want to release a new product ولا mobile app. Some tips here. You want to limit yourself to smaller number. إذا تقدر تخليها 3 مو 5, go for 3 all the time. Keep them very, very, as much as you can, just try to talk about إيش أهم شيء في الشركة اليوم. And this is really important for other points that we'll come to, because it's also going to help us how to decide on the themes. We'll make sure that it's wide enough so you can accommodate enough key results under those objectives. And you can measure something that's actually meaningful وفي الأخير contributes to the North Star. لأنه لو تتخيلوا معايا it's a tree. It starts with the North Star, and then it goes down to your objectives, and then down from there key results make up the objective, and then في الأخير you have your epics or whatever that maps to the key results. Key results are a numeric metric that you want to focus on, and this is something that you can check on weekly, bi-weekly or monthly basis. That changes frequently, right? فعلى سبيل المثال, we want to increase low touch payments from 13 to 25, and you want to be very specific to these as much as you can, and these change quarterly عادي. Your roadmap, at least the road mapping exercise that we do is quarterly. Every quarter we sit down and we think to ourselves ايش أهم حاجة, to decide on the objectives. غالبا objectives ما تتغير كثير, بس بعدين the key results do change. And a tip for that, if possible, if this is something that's, say, a dashboard that you want to track in your company, build a dashboard before you commit on the key result. Because sometimes you realize too late that you can't get the accurate number, and it's really horrible. The other thing is, if possible, make them very simple. مرة لا تعقد الكي results حقتك, خليها سهلة. Conversion to a particular funnel ولا someone who pays something that's very trackable. إذا تعقدها أبغى اليوزرز اللي يجوا من البرسونة الفلانية يدفعوا من الجوال من الساعة 12 للساعة 4 الفجر, و from that specific payment method, ما يدخل لا البيمنت اللي من جوا السيل برودكت بيج ولا البيمنت اللي من برا من عند الكارت. أبغى يضغط كويك باي. You're really overcomplicating yourself. It's going to be very hard to track this. طيب صار عندنا very example small roadmap, right? That's not a roadmap yet, because you know what you want to do. You have absolutely no idea how yet. فخلينا ندخل زيادة. Some tips when it comes to all of the things that I mentioned in the previous slide. أول حاجة, you want to start at least 1 month ahead. This takes time. It takes a lot of alignment. It takes a lot of discussions, and people, especially الناس اللي كانوا موجودين في البداية لما كان التيم 5-6 أشخاص, will have a lot of objections. On the objective level, because they're not numbers, مرة طبيعي إنه people have different opinions of what the 3 most important things in the company are. And it's okay, you want to have that conversation now before committing. Because it's really important, and we'll get to hiring بعد شوية, that when you ask anyone in the company at any point in time, and you ask them what are the 3 most important things that we're doing right now, it's a consistent answer. At least 2 out of 3 لازم كلهم يجاوبوا نفسهم. Right? فلما someone is not really convinced, you want to discuss that right now. هذا أحسن وقت. Because the more time passes, the more key results happen, the more initiatives you're developing. هتبدأ تشوف إنه يبدأوا الناس they form cliques, right? A team اللي كان rooting for that objective, a team اللي wasn't rooting for that, even if it's unconscious, هيبدأ يصير ذا الشيء. And you really don't want that. And try to be as numbers driven as possible. لما نتكلم عن objective وليش الobjective ده مهم, you want to deliver that with numbers. At the end of the day, ال5-6 أشخاص اللي كانوا في البداية are probably very smart, hopefully even smarter than you are. You want to make sure that those people are convinced, and they're not going to be convinced without numbers, without evidence, without proof. So you want to prepare that. طيب. Now, how do we connect this to the day-to-day things? You know, we were talking about numbers, metrics, objectives, key results, whatever. These are things that are very high level. Now, you don't want people to be in an executive meeting, because at the end of the day, it's a startup. We're a small company. الناس اللي يخططوا استراتيجي هم اللي يكتبوا الكود. Now, from here, now that you have the key results, you want to start thinking about features, value that you can deliver to your customer, that you can build or automate with tools or whatever, that would make those numbers better. And here's where everything comes full circle. لما تشتغل على epic, that epic improves a number. That number is associated with a key result. That key result is mapped to an objective, and that objective is mapped to the North Star. At any point in time, if you ask a person in the company, ليش بتسوي اللي قاعد تسويه, and how is that going to contribute to more subscribers, or more payments, or more whatever, they can exactly know how to map that all the way to the big umbrella. Right? It's easy. بعض الأحيان it's harder than, at least in technology functions, it's sometimes a little bit harder لأنه أنت مرة مركز على حاجة, you're tunnel visioned, and you're building it for a long time. تنسى ليش قاعد تسوي اللي قاعد تسويه. I'm going to use an example. على سبيل المثال, if I'm in partnerships team and I'm closing a deal, it's very easy to understand ليش I need to close the deal. عشان حتجينا فلوس. يعني it's very easy. بس when you ask someone, why are you writing this module that you're writing, or why are we deploying the service that we're deploying, and they can't understand exactly ليش and how's that going to contribute to more people subscribing or paying money or more users coming in or whatever it is you're working towards, there's a problem. There's a problem in the structure, and you need to sit down and talk and clarify. Or ترى بعض الأحيان you pivoted and you don't even know it. عادي غيروا ارجعوا غيروا الاشياء اللي فوق لو فعلا اللي قاعد لو قدر this engineer or whoever is working اقنعك انه what they're working on is the most important thing right now, it's okay, cascade it upwards to the plan. And that was something that we couldn't do because we were too tied to the plans. We were afraid about changing them, right? طب حلو. نفتكر البروبلمز والنيو questions اللي طلعت, حنبدا we scratch some off the screen. It's becoming tedious to plan, or we create a plan, it's hard, it's a session that everyone hates, it's very long, 3 hours long. We don't want to change the plan, please. Nobody touch the plan. صار سهل مرة because it's broken down and there's this tree structure that we talked about. This is out. We have bugs in production, no one has time to work on them. Well, if the bug in production is going to affect one of my key results, then I'm going to work on it. It's important. It's justifiable that I need to fix this right now. This will stick with us for a while. We'll talk about culture in a bit. How do we make sure that we're not drifting apart across different teams? We have different objectives. These objectives are assigned to squads. These squads are working on delivering features that would affect key results. ففي الأخير نعرف بالضبط كيف we're not drifting. لأن لو في أحد is drifting from one of our teams or one of our squads, we're going to simply change our key result. We're aligned. How do you pick the theme? You simply can map at least what we do in Scalers is we map the objective to a squad. Each objective is a squad. أحيانا يكون في two smaller relatively objectives. We map them to two objectives to one squad. This is easy. Now, how do we solve the change of plans issue that we mentioned earlier? We just did. What if two completely different standards of quality come across squads? We'll talk about that in a bit. And we also haven't tackled the problem of documentation, which is the last one that we have in your problems. Okay. Now, how do you solve documentation and culture in general? Well, by embracing a good culture. Now, let's talk a little bit more about that. I despise meetings, although my entire calendar is meetings. But you want to make them a very safe place for people to voice out their opinions. Because if, and again, this is a very non-technical presentation, so that's why I'm going with these rants. But if it's very easy for me to express my concern, even if I'm an intern, about where we're going as a company, by the way, كتير مرة غيرنا key results because of fantastic, amazing, brilliant interns. This guy's one. It's really, really, really interesting how people see things, either because they lack the whole context and complexity and the narrative that you went through to come up with this convoluted key result, and they kind of root you back, they ground you. Well, they just have fresh perspective. When you're trying to study and you just can't memorize something and they tell you go take a walk and come back, have a fresh eye on it. That's usually how we do it. When you can't solve a bug, go take a walk, come back, try to solve it. It's exactly the same thing, right? But it's nice when you have these people more often than not reviewing these numbers with you. And you want to open up all of your cards. This is exactly what we're doing. Please point it out if it doesn't make sense. Conduct knowledge exchange sessions. These ones are probably some of the most productive time in the company. When they're, of course, when they're not too frequent. But generally speaking, what we do is we try to build cases from something that the team is building, right? Whether it's we adopted the new technology, whether we're going with a new paradigm, whether we're deploying services in a different way, whatever it is, right? These arrangements and sessions that happen where team members exchange knowledge. أول حاجة make the team really get to know each other and respect each other more. And everything that we're working on, ترى كل حاجة قلناها قبل is really irrelevant if the team doesn't really trust each other. But you wanna every once in a while reinforce that trust. فلما نشوف أحد يقول واو والله my teammate is pretty awesome. There's something cool. I learned something from them. You reinforce that trust. The other thing is for a culture to be strong, especially in technology teams, do not make your pool very small unless you absolutely have to because of regulation or something. But do not limit yourself to a single city to hire in. Just don't do that. The world is very big. You want to embrace a work remote culture whenever you can. And we'll talk about some tips when it comes to that trade. Like, how do I hire a good team? طبعا this is a whole topic. This is a whole presentation in of itself. بس حابب صراحة أشارك some points that really made a difference for me. أول حاجة, always share an assessment before an interview. Really makes a very, very big difference. Assessments are a big indicator towards this person. حتى لو كان الاسسمنت مرة سهل, are they willing to go through the hassle of joining or take an assessment to join your company? That enough is a big indicator. It's a big signal. الحاجة الثانية is when you're interviewing, make sure that culture fit is one of the most important parts of what you hire for. أحيانا even more so than, especially for junior roles, even more so than technical skills. I mean, the person is a junior. What are you expecting? But are they willing to learn? Do they have that hunger? Do they have that drive? كل دي الأشياء تقدر تركز عليها, especially if they pass the assessment and the assessment is pretty technical. كل دي الأشياء تقدر تركز عليها لما you meet the candidate. طيب, and this one made us hire at least the most 5 or 6 senior roles عندنا في الشركة. Changing jobs is a very big decision for anyone. We have people come in for full days as if they're employees. نسوي له ايميل, ندخله في سلاك, نسوي له onboarding, نسوي له كل حاجة. Right? And they go through a day, they take one-on-ones, يدخل meetings, they shadow meetings, they pair program with current engineers موجودين. في بعضهم يموت as far as نحط له بصمة لو كان حيجي بكرة. Just to have a taste of what it feels like working in this culture. That gives so much signal. And one thing that I always try to view myself as whenever we're hiring someone is to this person who's willing to join our team, they're making one of their biggest decisions in the upcoming period in their life, probably, because you spend half, if not more, if you're waking hours working. It's a pretty big decision. But I try to view myself not as an assessor. I try to view myself as a data source for them. لأنه عادي مرة إنه they're brilliant, but I'm just not able to provide what they're looking for. ما فيها أي شيء. Maybe in the future. But that's that's my take on hiring in general. Now, طيب, how does this solve for docs in general? Documentation أتخيل is something that at least we found is very necessary. We take pride in our one-pagers, scalers. These guys know. We take pride in our one-pagers. It's something that we write as if I'm explaining this to myself in 6 months, because كمية المرات اللي رجعت one-pagers أنا كتبتها is just beyond what I can count. When you focus on something like this, do this for yourself. Don't do it for the team. Don't do it because it's a process. Don't do it because someone told you to. بدأنا نكتشف إنه صار في كثير من الشباب حتى they do one-pagers and they never share them. they just end up saving them in private. They forget to add them in the Notion team space عشان I did it for myself. And it's a fantastic way to reinforce a remote working culture. في بعض الناس حيكون remote, they're going to be 6 hours ahead or before your current time zone. They can just go in and read what you've done for the day, or they can be as amazing references or onboarding artifacts. But generally speaking, I think this is a thing that you'll just have to do to have the team do. If you don't do this yourself, يعني, if I'm not in meetings, I'm probably writing one pagers or doing an analysis that I'm gonna put in a one pager في الأخير. They're gonna understand why this is very useful. And one other thing that we did enforce for a while وبدأ يصير خلاص هو الكالتشر بشكل عام is before any meeting you're required to send a one pager of what we're gonna do in this hour. Otherwise it's gonna be cancelled automatically. فبدأ يصير في okay خلاص I have to do this, and then once someone gets in the flow they write بعدين يكتشف انه there was a lot that I could have said قبل ما نيجي في الميتنج نقعد ربع ساعة ولا ثلث ساعة اشرح لهم context. فنيجي ندخل في الدiscussion وندخل في صلب الموضوع على طول. that's that. I tried to keep it very brief. بس لو نرجع مرة ثانية على البروبلمز حقتنا we're gonna check whatever is remaining. Yeah, last two slides are kind of messed up, but you get the idea. That's that. صراحة I tried to make this brief so that we can go back to any point, get into more depth, talk about use cases and talk about things that we've done at Scalers to solve any particular problem.